Namaste, beautiful beings of light. The team of 144, all Starseeds, Lightworkers, and Wayshowers. We are experiencing this grounding deep into this divine feminine energy of this polar vortex. Now always remember the center of your central channel is a vortex of energy. So what's going on within, people are feeling this vertigo spinning coinciding with this polar vortex that is filling the North America with its cold below zero, below freezing. That's the underworld, the inner world, the unconscious. As we drive deeper into our own subconscious and through that void into the unconscious and into the superconsciousness. All these are connected. So this polar energy, what we're calling polar energy, but it's really just the center of this accretion disk, is emanating that still white magnetic light out as a sphere into this realm to help all of humanity ground deep into the unconscious, so we can finish this purging, the last of the purging of the false 3D matrix, as we transition fully into New Earth. This is year 1, WON, of New Earth. But all of humanity will not experience this until we reach critical mass. So some energies are still, some of the dark energies are still trying to hang on tooth and nail. So it's going to take a little time, a little more 3D time, for all of humanity to awaken. And one day the eyes of our spirit shall open and we shall know all things. So many codes were coming through today. 410s, 410, we had the 144, 1111, the 222s, the 69, the 3, 6, and 9, and the 37s, the 73, and 777. So today I want to share with you a transmission from Judith Kusel called The Sun Gate to Sirius and the 7th Central Sun, the raising of consciousness to the 7th cosmic dimensional frequency band. When the Sun Gate to Sirius and the 7th Central Sun opened in November-December 2017, the window of opportunity opened up for those souls who are ready to truly be activated to the fullest by the fires of illumination from the 7th Central Sun, thus to fully raise their consciousness levels to the 7th dimensional state, the state of the ascended being. This is an inner shift more than an outer one, and is the responsibility of each individual soul. I cannot stress the importance of what is happening now. This has now truly opened up what has not been accessible to humankind for millions of years. When each moment is sacred and filled with love, insight, and wisdom, when each day and night are sacredly filled with love, insight, and wisdom, it is when humanity finally rediscovers its sacredness as part of the greater divinity, a greater equilibrium, a greater love within the universal beingness. The collective will finally come home to the true greatness, the genius within themselves. This is when the golden age will have come forth, when we have come home to the greater truths within ourselves as true sons and daughters of the divine. With the massive Sun Gate opening in November-December 2017, we now, after many millions of years, are finally reconnected via Sirius to the 7th Central Sun, which is the Central Sun of illumination. More than this, the collective consciousness of humankind can now at last rise once more to the 7th dimensional it originally was in. You can read all about the 7th Central Sun and through this book, Why I Was Born in Africa, the previously unrecorded history of Elysium, and the Lion Kingdom. Sirius is the central hub around which the original 12 master galaxies, created by the divine in the very beginning of creation, is structured around and of. Therefore, Sirius holds the central keys and codes of all our planetary existence, from the first creation of the inner Earth, Agartha, to that of the outer Earth on which we are living now. With that, it holds the very cell memory banks of every single living organism of planet Earth, and thus all which ever has been created. More than this holds true for all the 12 master galaxies. However, during the wars of heaven, 3 of these master galaxies were completely blown up. Lyra and Andromeda severely damaged, so that the Lyran people had to seek refuge in Sirius in order to regain their strength, consolidate, and then repair their galaxy. The Andromedans migrated to a new galaxy which they colonized and which we now know as the Andromeda Galaxy, next to the Milky Way galaxy. The 7th central sun therefore was programmed to use Sirius as a type of satellite from which it then beamed all its knowledge, the fires of illumination, into all the 12 master galaxies. And then this, in turn, enabled the very high consciousness and 7th dimensional state of life on planet Earth and in the solar system at the time of Elysium, and then to some measure the Lion Kingdom, knowing this is what was only established after the wars of heavens, and then by the Lyran people on what was left or had survived from Elysium. After the Earth was completely thrown out of orbit when the planet between Mars and Jupiter blew itself up. However, subsequent happenings and Earthlings' tendency to blow themselves up then caused the intergalactic councils, whose headquarters is in Sirius, to close down the Sun Gate from the 7th central sun completely, plus the crystal pyramids, until such time as humankind can finally step out of the Dark Ages, which befell them when Atlantis blew itself up and were ready to rise its consciousness levels back to the 5th and then 7th dimensional frequency bands as it was in the beginning. In the last 150 years, so much has shifted as the Lightworkers cosmically volunteered to incarnate on planet Earth to assist planet Earth's rebirth into the 5th dimensional state, which has now happened, and thus the Sun Gates opening now. However, humankind at gross level still needs to make a huge shift. Yet this is very much an individual shift which must happen deep within the heart and soul, so that the higher heart mind can be activated and the higher transmitter channels open. One cannot access the 5th to 7th dimensional frequency bands without the inner shift occurring. One must be able to tune into these frequency bands via the soul, and therefore one soul's energy must be aligned with the 5th to 7th dimensional frequency bands. It is very much like tuning into a television station. You find the right decoder to unlock the satellite transmissions, otherwise you cannot gain access to those transmissions. I have done more than 1,000 soul readings in the last few years, as my soul gifts were restored to me and reactivated as I tap into the super consciousness energy fields, as thus transmit energy records. In the beginning, this was where all information was stored and not in any other media. Indeed, this is how it functions cosmically. When souls come back to me after finally realizing who and what they are at soul level, and most knew this deep down within themselves, but then tended to not heed that, something deep inside of themselves triggered, as the keys and codes within their own soul get reawakened, as remembrance returns and the veils of amnesia start lifting, or they start tapping more and more into the soul memory banks, and their own higher transmitter channels open up. The 5th dimensional state is all about forgiveness of self and others and the transmutation of fear and negativity. One is receptive, the divine love, wisdom, and power, and the unity consciousness arises as one finally understands that in truth, that one is one with all and everything in the divine, the rest of the cosmos, and in truth cannot ever be part and particle of the one single whole. The 7th dimensional state is the frequency humans rise to when they fully have activated the higher light body, their highest transmitter channels, and now truly can tap into their higher soul selves, the soul groups, and the cosmic hierarchy. Before this, many souls then ascended, meaning they left their physical forms completely. However, now a lot of these souls who have already reached this state have chosen in the highest possible service to the divine to stay in their physical form and assist the rest of humanity to raise their consciousness levels, as it takes one ascended master being to raise the frequency band of thousands, if not millions. This is also known as the seventh heaven, where the higher ascended masters and the masters of Shambhala reside, as well as the ancient ones. It is also where most of the angels reside. One cannot access the 6th to 7th dimensional states without truly mastering the negative ego. In that ego is neutral. If imbalanced, it will be destructive on either side of the scales. The sun gate to Sirius and the opening of the fires of illumination from the 7th central sun is now allowing the ancient sun discs to emerge, but also then the ancient keys and the codes of sun, meaning illumination. All illumined being is fully conscious and full mastery of himself or herself, has overcome or learned to step past the lower ego, and is therefore truly anchored into the highest soul self, and fully empowered by the threefold fires of love, power, and wisdom. Power without wisdom and love is brutal. It forces, it destructs. Yet power, when wisely used with great unconditional love, brings about the highest possible service and always aligns to the divine will and purpose, which is greater than the sum of the self. It therefore creates balance and harmony, for it can do or be no other, for the inner soul self is in harmony and balance and equilibrium with itself. This time then is essentially the path of the soul towards remembering its oneness with all that is. More than this, it is the inner empowerment, the inner soul activation and full activation of the higher transmitters with the state of pure, unconditional love, steeped in wisdom, and then the powers rise to fully live in a soul-empowered life. Once one is soul-empowered, one can do or be no other than to fully serve one's soul purpose and mission with great love and devotion. In truth, the soul has incarnated for one purpose only, to serve in the highest and best way the greater good of all, through utilizing its soul genius and therefore serving the divine with all that it is. By doing this fully and with great love and wisdom and empowered, the soul is not only raising its own consciousness and dimensional frequency band, but that of the collective as well. So thank you for joining me here today, beautiful beings of light. Thank you for all your amazing comments and likes and shares, and sharing your stories with us and connecting in this sacred space on this channel. This space is for all Lightworkers, Starseeds, and Wayshowers to connect and share their stories and to build new relationships with our team. So thank you again for all that you do, beautiful beings of light. I do love you all. Namaste.